What up YouTube? It's your boy Detroit Love with another video. Today we're going to take a look at our Arcade1up box and can we get a coin door installed without having to cut into our graphics board. Can we get this project done without having to saw or cut a opening for the door? Can we get this thing done with just a screwdriver? That's what the plan is. Let's see if it happens. Hey, Arcade1up modders. This is Detroit Love, and today we're taking a look at a product that's pre-cut, prefabbed, that will allow you to change out your front board, your board there with that shows the games that are included on your Arcade1up box, and allow you to put a coin door in there without having to destroy or cut or damage or do anything with that board. The intent of the product is to allow you to have no saw skills, tool skills other than using a screwdriver. So you can buy the coin door from JC, or you can buy it from X Arcades. And either way, single door or double door, they both fit with this board because they have the same dimensions, and the intent is for you to just be able to slide that in and then put that back brace on and use the included hardware that comes with the door to secure the unit in the opening. And so I bought this at a reduced rate to review it for his website. That's TulsaArcades.com. And so all we simply have to do to get started with this project is to remove the screws from your control panel and pull out the existing board. So that's what I'm doing here. Now, if you have my mod where you're using the built-in power switch, when you access this control panel from this way, it's a good chance that you're going to pull that cable out because that cable is pretty short. So just be aware that unless you secure that cable some kind of way so it's not getting pulled on, it is going to come out and you're going to have to plug it back in. So make sure you take a picture and know what that slot looks like and where it should be plugged in before you get started with this. Otherwise you won't be able to use your power switch. So this board here is just in there a little snug, but it's no problem. Just you just have to juggle with these all these three components so that you're not pulling any wires out. So you just pull that board out, and there you can use that board for something else, for another project, or maybe you want to be able to restore your Arcade1up box to its original state at some future date. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but maybe in 50 years it'll be a collector's item, and you'll have an original versus a modified one. Whatever the case is, you can buy this board, slide it in, and voila, you didn't have to get out a saw or any type of tool to cut that hole. It's just there for you. Some people like that convenience. Some people don't mind using a tool and cutting something. Some people just, their time is worth more and just want to get the product and utilize it. So this is a product that's new to the market that will give you that option. And as modders, we like options. So once you get that board in, then it's just a matter of taking the back off, so that you can access the rear of the cabinet, because in order to install the brackets you need to have access to the back of the cabinet. And while you're in here, you want to make sure your cable that goes into your built-in power switch is secure. But this is how the coin door looks. Now this one has a double coin slot, so you see two mechanisms that takes the coins. It comes with these little brackets that allow you to support it on the wood. Now on a normal cabinet, the wood is in a place already to be secured with these little brackets, but on the Arcade1up, that board is really thin, and that's why you need that extra piece of wood that JC provided and Tulsa Arcades provided. Now you won't need these little adapters with the Arcade1up, but I would imagine with some other systems, because this same coin box can be added to any arcade. But you will need the 6 brackets and the 6 bolts to secure this, and obviously the keys to be able to open and lock the door. But just remember, this coin box is just buttons. That's all it is. Don't be overwhelmed by all the mechanics of it and the complexity of it, because none of that stuff matters for what our purpose is. It's just simply 2 new buttons. So this is the board, and the ideal is that you slide it over here and then use these brackets. Like I explained, it's 6 of these things, and there's 6 points where you need to mount it. Okay, once it's on the door, but I'm just showing you ahead of time what's needed. Okay, so this is the front with the door in, but I noticed that the door will not flush with the door. The door will not flush with the board. It should be flush up against the board, but it's not. So I struggle with it, and you can see here on the board, I actually this door has these little bump outs of metal. Right, it's 4 of them. 1, 2, you see them there? Those 4 little bump outs makes this board at the current state just a slightly too small, where it will not flush up against the board. So I talked to JC, and he was like, "Oh man, that's something he didn't have on the door that he had originally." So he's already made the adjustment. So if you order one of these, you don't have to worry about this. But that's what the purpose of my videos are. I figure this stuff out, so I learn so that you can learn from me and avoid it. So I just took a Dremel tool here, and because those little 4 areas made little marks, I just dremeled away a little of that wood, and there you go. It's in there flush, just the way it should be. And you'll never ever see that from the front or the back, because the door covers that. So no big deal. But JC's has already made the adjustment with his CNC tool, and so it's not a problem. So we move on to the next step, is to bolt these boards in. And then so I ran into another issue. This board was just a little too big, like 1 inch and 2/16. So I just sawed that off. Again, I got on the phone with JC, like, look man, hey, the K board that's already in this thing, is there, and there's no way you can put the bracket on it. So he's already made the adjustment. So I was the guinea pig, and now you guys get to have the reward. So now that I cut that and it's perfect, you just put those 6 bolts on. There's 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and then you got 2 on the side. Because the board is already secured by the side of the cabinet, and I'm not sure how much thicker his board is over the Arcade1up one, but it definitely feels a lot stronger and rigid with no flex at all. So that is fantastic. But the thickness of this board here, support board, is just a perfect. It's perfect. It just these things line up perfectly with it. It's nice and rigid and strong, and there is literally no movement from this coin box. You would never know. It's just that little board and that back piece that's holding that door in, because the door is nice and solid and heavy. So that's all it took. So now that he's made the opening of the door slightly bigger, now those little four things will not be a problem. Now that he's made that top shorter, you can just buy yours, install it, and there you go. Looks really nice. So now that we have it installed, we simply got to get this thing working now, because currently it's installed, mounted, but it's not functional at all. It's just with the power cord plugged into an outlet, it's just a shiny box with red lights, right? So we want it to function as the coin drop for the game, so we need to hook up the wires, and the wires are longer because it has to reach from a lower end up to the control panel. But just remember, this is just buttons. It's just two new buttons if you have the double door, and a single new button if you have the one coin box. So you have these wires, and you just simply need to plug them in so that they can operate as a button. You have two cables. You plug both into each side of the mechanism. The mechanism looks complex and all that, but don't even worry about that, because it's nothing you need to worry about. Just plug those wires in. There's 3 mounting points for these cables. You plug it into the first one and the second one. They're labeled something, who cares? You just need to know. Plug them into the two outer, leave the center as it is with no cable plugged. Now I had to get a little finger file to get those things to widen enough to slide in. Now this wire is not included with your coin box. This is just one of the same wires you use for your buttons to plug into your USB encoders. So remember, these are just buttons. So you're going to just extend the cable that came with your coin box, plug into the two-ended wire that you plug into your USB encoder, and then you do the same as you did with all the other buttons for your Raspberry Pi. You plugged one button into the slot on the USB encoder, and with the other button, in this case the other coin slot, you plug into the same exact area on your encoder. So no biggie, see? But we'll get to that a little bit later. But here you see this metal is exposed when you connect those wires. I just take I call them bread ties, because they're stiff. You can straighten it out and extend it between the two wires and just twist them around so that it keeps these two wires apart from each other. Pretty simple. We have these on just about everything that we opened up. We have these little twist ties. So just keep a couple, and this is the method I use. I definitely encourage it. It keeps your wires separated once you jam all the wires back into the control panel. And if you have a different color one, you can mark one black and the other one white so that you know which one is player 1 versus player 2. So that's all I did here, because once you put it in there, you never know which is which. But by having a white and a black twist tie, you can always tell. Because again, these wires are going to be extended from the bottom near the door, connected to the door, up to the control panel, so they can plug into the two separate USB encoders. Okay, real simple. So let's take a look at that. So you just find the slot, open slot. I just keep all of the buttons on one side in a row. So I just went to the end, stuck that one in. For the other joist coin box, which is just a button, for the other button, it's still just a coin button. This time it's just activated by a quarter. You plug that in to the USB encoder for the other player and to the same exact spot, so they match. And that's it. You're able to set up your buttons. So you just go to the main menu, go to configure input, press and hold whichever side you want to do, and you just go through the normal step you would do. But when you get to select, instead of hitting that button that you drilled a hole for, you now slip a quarter into the slot, and now that quarter or the coin box will activate the credit. And you just do this for both sides. Just that simple. One thing I just want to mention, so with this configuration, you can only accept quarters for gameplay. So you ask, well, what happens when people want to come over and I don't want to deal with quarters? Well, you just go to this menu and reconfigure the buttons one more time and just use the hotkey button as the credit buttons. Lock it back down into kid mode. Nobody can change any of your configurations, so you can swap anytime you want between buttons and coin door to activate credits just by reprogramming the buttons. You just added 2 more buttons. You get to decide what those buttons do, and so you can always switch them at any point in time. So that is no big deal. This makes this arcade very, very authentic. It makes it feel like an actual arcade cabinet. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you on the web.